goes shorter because, I'm kind of an idiot, and I know that I'll definitely be driving around and I'll get to E and I won't be paying attention, so at least, a little bit shorter than 10. Grab this float and slowly move it up to the top of the gas tank here. My hand's stuck on everything. Howdy my friends, and welcome to the channel today. I'm Luke, Thunderhead289, here on the old YouTubes. And just a little bit of a winter update. It's cold here in Iowa. We're in the middle of February, so we're getting towards the end of it. But, we have temps that usually hang out at single digits or below zero because, that's just the Midwest, I guess. But we're getting a few things done, this old 65 Galaxy, which oftentimes, in the last 5 years, it's spent most of its life as a shelf, finally kind of getting to the thing where, maybe we'll get it done. It's got a supercharged 302 on it that I'm working through some things, but today I've been working on the fuel cell a little bit. This car was a rust bucket, so, the factory gas tank was gone, and they're pretty expensive, and since I have an electric fuel pump and everything on it, I just went ahead and put a fuel cell in it so I could set it up a lot better for that electric pump, and I wouldn't have any issues with it. So with that, let's take a look at this thing. There's a few little tricks and whatever, and you can make a fuel cell work pretty good for your old classic car. So everything's kind of a mess, as you can see here, because we're in the middle of working on this car pretty extensively. But here's our big 20 or 25 gallon fuel cell. I can't remember, it's a Mac Daddy. And so I've kind of inset it into the floor here, and it's back behind the axle to help with traction. Now, if this was like a handling car, this would be a sub-ideal placement. But given that this is a manual steering car, mildly high horsepower, it's still a little 302, it's pretty much going to be a straight liner. So we're not too worried about that. The fuel cell being set back behind the rear wheels should offer, a little bit more traction, where when you step on it, the car is just going to sit down and go. So, I've kind of inset it into the floor to lower the center of gravity, so the higher it is, if you were turning, it's going to get swaying around all over the place. I understand that not all folks could do that, but I've modified the floor to accept that thing. I've modified it with a bottom sump for the big electric fuel pump, so it's always getting fuel, not going to cause any issues there. But I've kind of stumbled across these fuel senders that are pretty universal. They're actually for marine applications, and I'll leave the link below, but they seem like they're going to work out really nice. So I'll wire this thing up and kind of give you a look at how it works, and then some of the methodology of how you set the length of this rod so that it actually reads correctly. All right, so I got it kind of ghetto wired in here so we can see what we're dealing with, but folks kind of complain that these are hard to wire up or they don't make a lot of sense, so I'll just shed some light on it as it's pretty simple. Obviously our open pin up there is for the backlighting, which you would just want to hook that circuitry up to your running lights. That's pretty self-explanatory there, and really the whole thing is, so S, I assume, stands for signal. That's going to go to your isolated center pole there on your sending unit. The I is for ignition. Again, self-explanatory. When your key's on, you want 12 volt power to that lead. And then your ground is obviously just your normal ground, and your whole chassis should be grounded, so you can ground that somewhere under your dash. Likewise, you should be able to ground your sender at some point on the back of your vehicle or wherever your gas tank is. Right now they're hooked together just for simplicity of testing things out. So we have our positive lead to our 12 volt. We're just going to touch this here to our negative. You can see as the relationship changes on this float, it changes the readout on the gauge like it should naturally. And again, I'll leave the links below to both of these so you get the right gauge with the right sender so this works correctly, as you can see. So there's all the way empty, there's all the way full. One thing that people do to screw these up is obviously you need to use your brain and figure out the distance from your sender to the bottom of your fuel tank needs to be applied to the length of this rod such that when the float is at the bottom, it's reading empty, and when your float is all the way pushed up, it's reading full. So we're going to take a simple measurement and modify this and test everything out. So for shrinking this thing down so it actually reads correctly on the gauge, I know from the sender hole down to the bottom of the tank, it's 10 inches. And so if I simply cut both of the lengths of these rods to 10 inches, or honestly, I'm going to go just a skosh shorter because, I'm kind of an idiot. And I know that I'll definitely be driving around and I'll get to E and I won't be paying attention. So at least, a little bit shorter than 10 when it's at full on E. I probably still have a little bit left in the gas tank. But so anyway, all that aside, this should be pretty easy. And then our little clamp here, we'll just line everything up end to end, clamp it together, and we should be good to go. And our rod should be pretty good and rigid. So let me get these cut. We'll throw it in there, give it a shot. So again, just a really quick recap. It's about 10 inches down to the bottom of the gas tank from the top of the flange. Pretty self-explanatory. I made my float just under 10 inches, so, if I do see E on the gauge, I might have a few gallons, Just helps with my own stupidity. That's all preferential, but also the float can't get stuck to the bottom of the gas tank that way, so it made good sense to me. You want to make sure it's clocked correctly so it's square with the actual top of the sender. They're on parallel planes. If this was turned down, that's going to screw with your measurement. So we're good and square. And then finally, and it should go without saying, don't clock your float so it's running into the side of your gas tank. Be mindful where that thing's at. So, I've transferred and drilled my holes such that the float is towards the center of the gas tank. That seemed logical to me. And now we should be able to wire it up and I can work that thing back and forth and we should see the gauge go from E to full based on where it's at. One little trick for hole saws, since I actually used the same hole I had for that old fuel line, is you can make yourself, there was already a hole. Here's our pre-existing hole. You can easily just make yourself a little bracket, screw that in, and then you can easily have a guide for your hole saw that then your hole saw comes down around this guy and it's not too weird. If you try and use a hole saw without a centering point, the hole saw is going to walk all over and just make an ugly mess out of whatever you're cutting a hole in. So it's a nice little life hack that it's come in handy, more times than I can count. Maybe given my line of work or whatever, but it's still good knowledge to have. Just a little trickery there. All right, so I got this thing super ghetto wired here, very ghetto wired, to see how we did on this whole thing with our geometry. So I'm going to reach in, grab this float, and slowly move it up to the top of the gas tank here. Oh, my hand's stuck on everything. There we go, full. And I'm going to slowly lower it back down. And there we are at empty. So anyway, that was just kind of a quick crash course of, a simple way to put a sender in a fuel cell. I've always hated that about them. And then I kind of had the epiphany. I'm like, duh, dude, just buy a universal one and put it in. And as you can see, it's real easy. Just use your brain a little bit. And it's a pretty simple install. So I'll leave the links to everything below. If you have a fuel cell and you want to try this out, or whatever. I've rolled this car for a long time without a sender in it, and it got pretty annoying always wondering how much fuel is in the car and stopping way more often than I probably needed to keep the thing topped off because, the price of running out of fuel and leaning out on an engine is usually pretty catastrophic and sub-ideal. So anyway, that's the long and short of it. I got a lot of work to do on this car, so wish me luck, Got about a month. We're lucky to have